D.W.T.C, also known as D-Dubb, is known as one of the oldest and largest gangster disciple sets in Seattle, Washington. But before D.W.T.C became labeled as a gang, it was just a clique, a crew of neighborhood local youth who enjoyed expressing themselves through hip-hop and breakdancing. So how did D-Dubb turn into what it is now known today as one of the most recognized gangs in Seattle and throughout Washington state? Before the crack epidemic and gang presence throughout America in the 80s, the nation was experiencing the evolution of the civil rights movement since the early 1960s. On the West Coast, the Black Panthers' original chapter in Oakland, California, then evolved to Seattle, where two young men by the names of Aaron Dixon and Larry Gossett and a few others formed the Seattle's chapter of the Black Panthers after attending a funeral in Oakland, California for 17-year-old Bobby Hutton, a founding member of the Black Panthers Party, who was shot down by Oakland police.
Members of the Black Panthers Party were ambushed by the Oakland Pig. And when little Bobby was killed, he came out the house with his arms up. Pigs told him to run to the car, and they shot him down.
Following the brutal murder of Black Panthers leader Bobby Hutton in April of 1968 and Fred Hampton in December of 1969, the Black Panthers in the United States were taking on significant damage to the infrastructure of the organization from the relentless oppression of the J. Edgar Hoover administration and the corrupt police through their ruthless and racist tactics. With their lack of leadership and direction, the Black Panthers would slowly deteriorate from within, causing the Black communities in America to need for new leadership and protection.
Hey, haven't you learned anything? Hey, little bitch said I don't boot it up. I said I pulled up and back then I don't trust niggas. Say something dumb, but them gorillas, they get on niggas. South Seattle in my eyes, this is home. Niggas riding bikes with Bub and Mike. Stop on the club, nigga. Pops might not fuck with me, cause I owe the nigga. It's like I'm playing, I'ma take.
Like the formation of Raymond Washington, L.A. Crips, then came the BGD and even blood identity of the D.W.T.C, also known as D-Dubb, throughout Washington.
Disciples. This is right before D-Dubb. Don't even get me started with D-Dubb, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But don't get me started with D-Dubb. He was from Gangster Disciple. And the reason why I never joined D-Dubb in the beginning, because D-Dubb was Bloods and G's. Nobody wants to talk about that.
Really?
Remember when Twin said there was a bunch of Bloods, and remember it was Bloods, Hoovers, and G's all in the same area? Remember in the beginning of the conversation, he was like, they were all kind of weird, Ranger Beach, they were all kind of like sharing the same area. It was weird.
Right.
So the Bloods and the G's decided to get together and go against the Hoovers in the 60s and the 90s.
SouthEnd Bloods and G's? SouthEnd Bloods and G's?
It was a bunch of Bloods in the South End. A bunch of Bloods in the South. See, in the beginning, the Crips was in the CD. The 90s, the Hoovers, the 60s, and the Grape Streets. And it was another one, Santana Block. They were all in the CD in the West Seattle.
Interesting.
So it was nothing but Bloods and G's in the South End. And they formed an alliance called D.W.T.C, down with the crew.
Was that in the very beginning?
Nobody wants to talk about that.
Interesting.
D.W.T, I bet these young niggas don't know that. D.W.T was, and I'll say it on camera, D.W.T was Bloods and G's. You guys sit there and sweep it under the rug all you want, but that's really what it was. Down with the crew was Bloods and G's. And so they formed the alliance because the Samoans.
I would see the Samoan Bloods. I would see the Samoan Bloods out there.
The Samoan Bloods were getting hella deep, so they had to, they were like, nigga, we're better off uniting, nigga, because these Samoan Bloods are getting deep as fuck out here, right?
Right.
So I wasn't feeling that. I'm like, nigga, I'm a G, nigga. I'm not, no, nigga, I wasn't feeling that. Like, hold on, what? And I'm going to tell you why I wasn't feeling it in a minute. So that's what happened with that, but we'll go back to the story.
My nigga Bryce go crazy. Say I'm
Nasty James, switch the slink to a 6 assassin. Say I'm C4, D-Dubb price. Dope from this rapping, I done made it out a lot of skits. Even gun jamming, say I'm L.S.G twin mob. Nigga, I'm a savage, I'm Seattle. It's a whole new gym with this rapping. I'm just hoping that we make it out. Like, why it still ain't happening? I feel like they don't respect us, cause we ain't on the murder capital. Fuck they thought to what they thought it was. Bitch, we get action.
A gangster disciple by the name of Big Al McGarry would come to Seattle from Chicago, bringing with him the gangster disciple identity and culture. Prior to the 80s, there had been no black-on-black murders amongst the youth, but that would sadly change in the summer of 1980 when a black youth was killed by another black youth in Seattle, as Seattle's Black Panther chapter leader, Aaron Dixon, would recall. As time progressed, in the mid-80s, a Seattle native that went by the name Breeze, and later be known as OG Breeze, and a few other individuals would formulate the now well-known and respected D.W.T.C, D-Dubb Clique, which started off as a breakdancing crew that had no gang affiliation until later on, when the gangster disciple identity would be adopted. The D-Dubb Clique was out of the SouthEnd of Seattle, but would often visit and hang out with other local kids in the Central District, which was not too far from the south end of the city. The South Seattle D-Dubb Clique and the Central District OSC and East Union kids of the CD would at times hang out and flave together, visiting each other's sides of town peacefully. Over time in the 80s, the Central District East Union and Central District OSC out-seeking crime clique, which would later be known as D.W.T.C, would get along with the D-Dubb until a tragic day on November 12, 1986. November 12, 1986. 18-year-old Robert Walter Harris Jr., a.k.a. Breeze, and a few friends he was with who were hanging out in front of the old Dino's grocery store market around 11 p.m. at night, when an individual and his friend, who were from the Central District of Seattle, approached Breeze. One of the individuals who approached Breeze immediately commented to Breeze, "Say fam, I heard you wanted to fight me, homie." Without even caring for a response, the 18-year-old Central District teenager pulled out a .38 caliber handgun from his pocket and shot Robert Harris, aka Breeze, one time in the chest and took off into the night with his friend. Breeze was rushed to Harborview Medical Hospital, where he soon passed away not more than an hour after being shot. The 18-year-old suspect, soon after the incident, turned himself in to the public safety building, accompanied by friends and family, around 2 a.m. that night, and was taken into custody for the passing of Robert Walter Harris Jr., aka OG Breeze. Sergeant Joe Sanford of Seattle's Homicide Unit said there had been bad blood between the suspect's girlfriend and the victim, but did not have details on the falling out between the two individuals regarding the situation. OG Breeze losing his life would cause mad friction between the Central District and SouthEnd kids that would lead to years of feuding between the two groups over time. In the beginning, the SouthEnd D.W.T.C's and the Central District OSC kids would take on the BGD identity, but as time progressed, would identify as GDs, gangster disciples. But to this day, the BGD label would still be respected in Seattle, even though the transition to gangster disciple had taken place amongst the SouthEnd and Central District sets. At one point long ago, the D.W.T.C's at times would have conflict with the L.S.G's, the Lakeshore gangsters, who were neighbors to the D-Dubbs, who were also out of the SouthEnd of Seattle.
It was GDs and Bloods together. They're saying that's how D-Dubb originally started. The Bloods and the GDs got together to fight the 6-0s and the 9-0s out the SouthEnd.
So I'm gonna tell you like this.
So what's your story on it?
So I lived in the Ville
In 1990.
91.
When you say the Ville, you talking about the Vista?
Lakeshore.
Lakeshore. Across street from Rainier Beach High School.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So it was like this. When I lived in there before anything, it was the L.S.G's ran shit in the
I remember that.
You know what I'm saying? The D-Dubbs and the L.S.G's didn't even get along. You know,
Now, what's the difference? Is it difference in colors or area or what?
Nah, so you got the D-Dubbs, the Henderson.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? 53rd. And the L.S.G's, they ran the Ville. Well, it was from Henderson, but they ran the Ville.
Okay.
know what I'm saying? And,
So when you say the village, you're talking about Lakeshore Village. The original name, that's the apartments across the street from Rainier Beach High School, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So then, nigga, they used to be hard, nigga, framing them, nigga, Quentin Irvin, nigga, had the nigga shook, nigga.
You said, so Frame was from the L.S. or was he from,
No, he
D-Dubb?
was D-Dubb.
Okay.
Larry Love and them guys, Terry Rest in Peace, all them guys, they was L.S.G.
I remember that.
You know what I'm saying? And then it just so happens one year they all came together. Because you got to remember, they came together, my nigga, because who was in the SouthEnd? The Crips.
The Overs, yeah.
And then, but what's so crazy, what a lot of niggas will never tell you, though, so the highway.
So hold on, pause there. Somebody else said exactly what you just said. Like, what they don't want to tell you is that the GDs and the Bloods, they congregated together to go against the Crips. That's what was okay. So what you're saying, what he said must be official because you agree with that. All right, go ahead. You were saying about something about the highway. Go ahead.
Yeah. So then, let me tell you about. So then you got. So basically, when the Holly Hoover clique started and Peanut started hitting the corner, fucking with us, because Merv been telling them to fuck with us, but he started hitting the corner, fuck with us to see how we was getting down. He was like, my nigga, I'm gonna start bringing my little niggas down here because these niggas is kind of soft. You feel what I'm saying? They need to come fuck with y'all. You get what I'm saying? So that's when the highway niggas start bringing the baby T's and them guys out there.
That's when they was babies, like teenagers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Remember they came through Holly for a few years.
Yeah.
And then they went back to the highway.
Okay. So.
But that was the whole transition. Come through Holly to get your gangster up, and then go back to the highway.
Right. So. The D.W.T.Cs would share their community with other Seattle SouthEnd sets, such as the 4-4 Holly Crips, the 7-4 Hoover Criminals, SouthEnd's Trey 8, Portland Block, Joanna Block, and even Samoan Bloods that would usually stick to themselves when it came to SouthEnd politics.
Jungle every day is a killer. Niggas die from getting smacked or overdoing prescriptions. My niggas tell me. The old me. She don't like how I'm living. Shit, I don't like it either. Well, we show a party to mission. My brothers, and I know they gon' shoot till it's quick. Down.
D.W.T.C's block would be 53rd and Henderson, but they would frequent Cloverdale Block, also known as Dale Block. But 53rd and Henderson is where you would regularly see the D-Dubbs consistently on a regular basis in Seattle. Times have changed, but for years, Seattle and Tacoma were separated, not only through distance, but by culture and relations as well. Though over the past few years, D-Dubb has even had its influence and connections all the way to the hilltop of Tacoma with the South Seattle GGG Click Alliance as well, stretching all the way from the SouthEnd to the trenches of Tacoma.
Trey Capone, man. GGG.Trey Capone IG. You right here in the heart of the hilltops, man. This is where it goes down. Legendary, man. You see,
realize anywhere you go, it's just be respectful, man. You go out of town, man, be respectful, man. Because motherfuckers ain't playing.
Yeah, man, all them telling me that big G's around this motherfucker all year. All the stuff, yeah, from the south, though. Yeah, all the yeah.
What you really thought for your niggas? What you really slide with your niggas, huh? What you really die with your niggas, huh? What you really slide for your niggas, GGG with the realest, I never break the code. Hold it down for all of my niggas who never made it home. I told they mama I got him and sure like State Farm. Knock a nigga down, he acting hard, so I yanked this car. Calling on my top shotters, only top rank. GGG and GGC, yeah, they go crank. 17 double O, yeah, that's YB. And only real niggas standing right beside me. See a sucker with this flan, I'm a blind he. Rollers on the block, paper kinda dry here. And if a nigga won't smoke, know where to find me.
D-Dubb also has roots with the Tacoma Knockout Crips, where I myself have spoke to many Tacoma knockouts who say it was a couple individuals from Seattle's D-Dubb who came to Tacoma many years ago and helped start the knockout set. Some may believe it, some may not. Nonetheless, both sides of the town have been known to creatively come together, putting out new music through the two cities. The Central District and the SouthEnd beef, which it would later be known as, would carry on over generations, even creating cliques amongst the youngsters, such as the Central District Savages and even wild-ass female cliques, known as the SouthEnd Bouted Bitches and the Central District Breezies, who would beef themselves at high schools and city events whenever the two sides would encounter each other at any given time. At one point, the Central District Savages clique would be denounced by the older generations of the Central District, who would persuade the CDS Savages clique of the youth to reform back to and stick to their roots of the original Central District sets. Over time, many individuals would sadly lose their lives to the ongoing feud between the two sides of the city, causing hurt and pain that affected the community in many different ways as generations would pass. In March of 2002, Raymond Lil Spoon Kilgore from Seattle 74 Hoover was shot at Imperial Lane's bowling alley in Seattle, losing his life during a brawl in the parking lot and a gang altercation, allegedly between the Central District and SouthEnd sets. On January 3, 2008, in Seattle, L.S.G Joplin from D.W.T.C was shot at a birthday party hosted by friends, losing his life. L.S.G Joplin was shot in front of a large crowd of partygoers, alongside a 13-year-old girl who was also wounded, but survived as the gunman fled the scene. On August 5, 2008, Pierre LaPointe from D-Dubb, 16 years old, was shot, losing his life in Seattle while walking home with a few friends around 10:30 at night. Pierre was struck in the stomach as he continued to walk until he fell to the ground, bleeding out from his gunshot wound. He soon passed away shortly after. On October 31, 2008, Quincy Coleman from Seattle Central District, Valley Hood, Piru, 15 years old, was shot, losing his life at Seattle's Garfield High School parking lot alongside his friend D. Valley, who was also 15 and was also struck by bullets but survived his gunshot wounds.
First of all, I want to say I ain't guilty of nothing. I didn't commit this crime. There's no proof that I committed.
A man convicted in a deadly gang shooting outside of Seattle High School when he was a teenager won't walk out of prison until he is 81 years old. Cairo 7's Maria Guerrero was in court for the sentencing where the convicted killer spoke despite his own attorney's advice.
You guys sit here and act like I'm a bad guy. There's no proof that I'm a bad guy. I'm a good dude.
Staring at a 60-year prison sentence for shooting and killing 15-year-old Quincy Coleman and injuring another teen on Halloween 2008, D'Angelo Saloy professed his innocence and gave the court a piece of his mind.
I'm just going to say you guys let some people that don't know anything about the law, 60 years in prison, like how are you guys putting people in prison that long and saying it's to help people, but how can you get help if you're not returned to the community? That's just stupid.
I see absolutely no remorse. Coleman's mother didn't want to show her face, but spoke about losing her youngest son.
I can tell you to put him in jail for the rest of his life, but it's not going to change anything for me.
Then the ruling. A little more than 59 years, a mid-range sentence given Saloy was only 16 at the time. Outside the court, the 22-year-old's family spoke up for him.
I just want to say that he's not the person that that they tried to paint him out to be. He is a very good person. It's D'Angelo's a good person. He is. We all make bad mistakes. This happened when he was a child.
He took someone else's son.
I understand that, and that's sad. I don't wish that on nobody. There's no winners here. Everybody lost.
As for Saloy's last words to the court, the prosecutor said this.
Not surprising at all.
Even though the two sides of the city would have years of history of feuding, the two sides would learn to start expressing themselves with their past pain and trauma through their music with the new generations. James Andrew Richardson, aka Tana Money, who grew up with the SouthEnd D-Dubbs, passed away on December 29, 2019 from gunshot wounds he inflicted while driving on State Route 509 near Seattle South Park with a few friends he was with who were also in the car, though survived the shooting. Before Tana Money's passing, he would put out many musical projects and songs that would move the city with the locals and throughout the nation who would listen to his story and experiences through his music. Tana Money would put out songs such as Rhymy 90s, Ride For Me, and Jungle with SouthEnd Seattle rapper Pt1 and many other songs and projects that would flourish throughout the city and country. With the Seattle sound and swag, it was clear he was surely on the rise to becoming the face of the Seattle rap scene that would have led him to success musically before his untimely passing in 2019. The Seattle rap scene was rising.
Look, live from the 206. I'm from the 253 Tag Town in this bitch. Live from the 206, from the 253 Tag Town in this.
But so was the murder rate. In 2023, Seattle experienced its highest homicide rate since 1993, as the younger generations would dive head-on into the beef, as they would slowly lose sight of their futures ahead of them. Not only did the SouthEnd have the Central District to worry about as their opposition, but as time went on, the SouthEnd sets that would once coexist with each other would slowly start to feud amongst themselves, causing chaos and havoc in their own communities that they once were at peace within. SouthEnd's D-Dubbs and the Fofo Holly Crips new generations would forget their once aligned history and cause unnecessary conflicts between one another, which would result in lives lost. Even SouthEnd 7-4 Hoover criminals would take their own stance on certain conflicts from the prior problems the SouthEnd hoods were facing. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. One love, no mean mugs or shoulder shrugs. Bet that, no setbacks.